Battle of the Atlantic with a miserable, rotten, hopeless life. An Atlantic so rough it seems impossible that we can continue to take this unending pounding and still remain in one piece. Hanging onto a convoy is a full-time job, the crew in almost a stupor from the nightmarishness of it all, and still we go on our after hour. Frank Curry of the Royal Canadian Navy, RCN, wrote these words in his diary aboard a corvette in 1941 during the Battle of the Atlantic, a battle that would be called the longest of the Second World War. During the darkest days of the war, thousands of Canadians in the RCN, the Canadian Merchant Navy, and the Royal Canadian Air Force, or CAF, faced perilous conditions that many of us can only imagine. The following account tells a tale of incredible bravery and sacrifice which all of us have a duty, not only to remember, but to pass along to future generations. From the very outset of hostilities in the Second World War in 1939, the Atlantic supply route from North America to the United Kingdom was threatened, eventually gaining control of the entire coast of Europe. From the northern tip of Norway to the Pyrenees, the Germans set out from every harbor and airfield in Western Europe to sever the lifelines to Britain. For 6 long years, the RCN, the Canadian Merchant Navy, and the RCAF were central participants in what was to be known as the Battle of the Atlantic. The sea lanes of the North Atlantic formed a grim battleground. Navigation was hazardous, and sailors in the Navy and Merchant Marine died not only from enemy attack, but from exposure and accidents in the fog and winter gales. Nor was protection sufficient to prevent heavy losses. There were too few naval vessels and maritime patrol aircraft available, as well as a severe lack of training and modern equipment and technology. In 1939, Canada possessed only a few dozen Canadian-registered merchant ships, 6 destroyers, 5 small minesweepers, 2 training vessels, and a single squadron of modern military flying boats. No one would have predicted that, from this tiny beginning, Canada's forces would go on to play a large and significant part in the Atlantic War, and that the Canadian Merchant Navy would carry cargoes around the world. Bridging the Atlantic was the key to strategic supply, and it was in maintaining the Atlantic lifeline that Canadian naval and air personnel played an increasingly vital role to transport safely the vast amounts of goods and troops that were needed. Ship movements had to be organized and controlled. In August 1939, Canadian-registered merchant ships and ships in Canadian ports passed from the control of their owners into the control of the RCN, which would determine routes and departures. Shipping on the more important and vulnerable routes was placed in convoy as the best means to regulate traffic and provide protection from both sea and air. In April 1940, the war in Europe took an ominous turn as German troops without warning seized Denmark and launched an invasion of Norway. In only a few weeks, the Germans had conquered Denmark and Norway and isolated Sweden.